The Board of Governors, the executive for this year. You don't need to remember too many names. We're going to be making a switch on that in the next couple of hours. But for right now, the Board of Governors consists of Richard Cameron, who is in absentia. We have Chris Frawley. Chris, there. Chris Fudge is here. Aaron Dobson. Dan Redmond is the governor. Adam Graham is our secretary. Abby Saunders, the treasurer. George Mabari, our president-elect. Rod Potter, our past president. And I'm Steve Moons, your current president. Welcome. The first order of business, I'll ask Adam Graham to come up and introduce our guests for the evening. It's a long walk from over there.
Longer walk back to a guest list.
While Adam gets the guest list, we'll ask Adam Moons to come up and introduce the new ASHRAE members.
Thanks, Steve. We have 5 new members that we're going to introduce this evening. Mr. Andrei Brunopolsky, Mr. Sharif Gadban, Mr. Cody Grant, Miss Patricia Biernet, and Miss Isabel Fernandez.
Welcome to all the new members. And I think there's still a few faces here who have been attending and are not yet members. Adam Moons is our membership chair, so if you have any questions on how to go about becoming a member, corner him before the end of the night. So looks like Adam's ready to go. He can introduce our guests.
All right. Well, hello, welcome everyone. Just going to introduce our guests. So I've got Gord Lundy, Cheyenne Mirza from Total HVAC, Neil Brown from Dream Realty, Tom Armstrong from JP2G Consultants, Paul Seguin from Morrison Hirschfield, Michael Grant from Train, Steve Meinke from Train, and Lorena Dobson. So thanks everyone for coming out, and hopefully you'll sign up as a full-fledged member. Thank you.
All right, the next item of business, I'll get George Mabari to come up and speak a little bit about research promotion. While he comes up, George has been cornering you for the entire year with draws that we have for tickets. We have some more this year. In Air has generously donated 2 tickets to the Red Blacks home opener against Calgary. So hot tickets for sure. George has been raffling these tickets off. There's still lots of chance to get them, so he'll be going table to table. Please donate if you can. We are right on the razor's edge of our research promotion goal, and it'd be great to exceed that, and draws like this can really help us do that. So keep an eye out for George and give him money.
Steve really pretty much said all that I have to say about RP. Thanks, Steve. I know most of you guys are going to miss me next year. Yeah! I know. Paul? I know you're going to miss me. I'll still come talk to you though. You guys have been great in terms of donations. We're pretty close. We're in the final stretch, last 30 days approximately. We need to get your donations in by June 15th as the chapter links the minimum over to society. So if you do donate through the chapter, please have your checks to us by June 15th. If you haven't donated so far, please get a hold of myself or anybody in the RP committee and send your checks through. So thanks very much.
Thanks, George. Before the slide changes, you can see here we're at just under $24,000 of our $25,000 goal. If all the commitments that have been made to us do come through, and we trust that they will, I think we're going to exceed that goal with a little bit to spare. So that would be a record for our chapter, and it would be a great feather in the cap for George coming into his presidential year.
Oh, yes.
Next we have Dan Redmond, who is going to come up and talk about the CTTC Awards. Why did you all sit as far away as possible?
Thank you. As many of you know, every year ASHRAE Society puts on a series of competitions to recognize people for their contributions through their projects in applying HVAC and our technology. This process starts at the chapter level, and people that submit at the chapter level and are successful are then invited to compete at the regional level. Those who are successful at the regional level can then compete at the society level. I'm very happy this year to stand before you and present 5 awards to the Ottawa-Valley chapter. And I'd like to begin by inviting Olson Quintero to come forward. So, Olson's award, in the category of new commercial buildings, Olson wins an ASHRAE Chapter Technology Award for his project, which is Performance Court, 150 Elgin Street, Commissioners. Thank you all. Next up, I would like to call George Mamari. George is actually receiving 2 awards today. The first, in the category of existing healthcare facilities, for his project, Buckingham Hospital, hemodialysis. And in the category of new educational facilities, the Wakefield Elementary School. There are 2 other awards that go to Frank Van, who is not with us this evening, but those awards are in the category of residential, Frank's project of the Westboro Station, phase 1, 2, and 3, and then in the category, new healthcare facilities for his project, St. Patrick's Home. So again, these awards.
Oh, I didn't see it there, Ross.
So these awards,
Great pass to you, Rob.
thank you very much for everybody who submitted, because these awards are really geared to celebrate and demonstrate outstanding achievement in the application of HVAC in our technology. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Dan. And this is something obviously that does happen every year. I think if nothing else, you can see that George Mormari got 2 of these awards, so it's obviously not too tough to qualify. I'm just teasing, obviously, but in all seriousness, I can say without a word of a lie that this is a really dedicated and intelligent group of consultants that we have here. And we routinely do very well at regional and levels and beyond, so don't be shy. It's a great way to get your project recognized. Keep an eye out for it. We usually start looking for nominations in January, February, but when next year comes around, if you have a project that's finished that you think deserves a little bit of recognition, get in touch with us and, like I said, put a feather in your cap. Tonight's theme is history. Aaron Dobson is our resident historian, taking over from Rod Potter for the last couple of years, so we have a really, really strong history in our chapter. So Aaron's going to tell us a little bit about the tabletop display that he has going on.
Thanks, Steve. So the last year, I've been looking for a lot of new history, because in the past we've always had kind of the same old stuff, and so I found out that Stan Milross had this huge archive of history items stored in his facility at National Council. So for the last year, I've been going through boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff and bringing it back to my house, and trust me, my wife wasn't too happy to see like 15 cases of papers. And if you can imagine, if text messages or emails existed back then, we wouldn't have that much paper. So hopefully moving forward, history would be a lot easier to archive. So I picked a lot of very interesting items from what Stan had. So he had a lot of end devices he pulled out of the U.S. Embassy back about 30 years ago with his son Dave. So he let us borrow them for today. So there's humidity sensors, temperature sensors, a bunch of gauges. There's even old catalogs from the 1930s with pricing, which is very interesting. There's even Charlie Hobbs, an ASHRAE member, all of his textbooks from 1930s, all of his examinations. So it's a very interesting find, a lot of interesting reads. There's textbooks, there's a lot of new interesting items, so if you have a chance, go over to the table and have a look.
One of the items that relates to research promotion is our annual Scramble Golf Tournament.
Oh, yeah?
This year, Andrew Duma with Total HVAC has been good enough to do the organization again. It's coming up very shortly. There's still a few last minute details. I'll ask him to come up now and just run through some of the items of interest.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve. The ASHRAE Golf Tournament is scheduled for Tuesday, June the 16th, so 3 weeks from today. The event is sold out, so we unfortunately don't have room for teams in the event. We do have a 9-hole golf course that is there, so if you did want to get a taste of golf and join us for dinner, there is room for participants that way. We're also currently looking for sponsors, so if your company hasn't had a chance to sponsor the event, it's a great way to support the chapter, support ASHRAE research, and get a little bit of recognition for your company at the same time. So if you're looking to sponsor the event, please reach out to me, reach out to Steve, and we'll be happy to get you guys booked for a sponsorship. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. So we're down to the short strokes for the business session before dinner. The next item on my list here is our awards. Bob Kilpatrick is our committee chair of nominations and awards, and Stephen Lynch assists him with those. So I'll ask both of those guys to come up and present a few of the awards that we have for this evening.
Thanks, Steve. The first set of awards that we're going to give out tonight are related to companies that have provided support for their employees to do volunteer work for ASHRAE. And this is really Stephen's initiative that he started when he was in his presidential year. So I'm going to let Steve take over, and I will be his assistant on this phase of the award.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Bob. So we realized that we rely on a lot of local volunteers and people putting their time in, but no one's actually ever acknowledged the companies that support those employees and support the people that, whether it's in kind work, photocopiers, everything else, acknowledging those companies that allow people like us to support our chapter and support what we're trying to do within the business. So a few years ago, we started the company recognition, and this is just ongoing with that effort. So I'll start just with what we do is that if you're a new company, you receive a new plaque, and then every year based on your employee contributions, you receive a new nameplate based on what position they held that year. And just as a way to recognize what you're doing for our chapter. So I'll hold on to, I'd like to acknowledge Adam Graham for secretary. Adam, I'll hold on to this for now unless you want to come up. Okay, because that's a long walk for you. I don't want to. NRC, Abby Saunders, and Bob Kilpatrick for treasurer, honors and awards and nominations.
I was going to call it.
Okay, congratulations.
Smith and Anderson for student activities. Adrian. Masters group, governor for Chris Budge. Sure. Governor and CCTC, MMM group, Dan Redmond. I'm going to make him do a long walk. Morrison Hirschfield, who's Chris Paul, governor. Walmart, Adam Moons, Chris Neely, and Cody Lau. And that's for membership committee, special events, and yeah. Total HVAC, Steve Moons and Andrew Numa, president and special events. JT2G, Mike Swain, our river welcoming greeter. Rodder, CAS, Rod Potter, president and webmaster. BPA, we have President-elect, EOE, Research Promotion and Capital Communique, George Murray and Celine. Public Works, Patrick Desai is a big supporter of government affairs course. We have some new supporters, Pro-End Consulting. We have Airtron Canada, Governor in History, Aaron Dobson. Is there anyone here from Norrin here? Thank you very much to all the companies that do support their employees for engaging in this chapter and this community and helping it move forward. So thanks very much.
So the next award that I'd like to give out is Student Awards, and recognizing that students are the future of our community. Each year the Ottawa-Valley chapter makes an award to the student member of ASHRAE based on their overall performance and achievement for the year. And the award is presented in memory of a former chapter member who helped shape the Ottawa-Valley chapter into what it is today. And this year there are actually two deserving recipients who were actively involved in chapter activities throughout the year, and as well as attending monthly meetings on a very regular basis. They were also involved in special planned activities like the career fair and other events that were organized for students, like through the YEA program, for example. The two individuals for this year's award were identified by the chair of the Student Activities Committee, who is Adrienne McCanney, so I would ask her to come forward now and help with the presentation. So, as I mentioned, the awards are given in memory of former members of our chapter, and these are former presidents. And the first award is given in memory of Charlie Watson, who was president of this chapter for the period 1957 to 1958. And I will let Adrienne introduce the recipient, and I will get the award.
So both of the people who are getting these awards were very involved with the Carleton ASHRAE chapter, and they were able to organize, both me and them, organize a number of events for students at Carleton. So they gave a lot of their time and effort, and we really appreciate how much they brought ASHRAE to the Carleton chapter, as well as their involvement with, like Bob said, the Yay events and just coming out and learning about what ASHRAE is. So we've got the award for Alex Romark. You can come up.
Congratulations, Alex. Thank you. This goes along with that.
Thank you. That is a small monetary award that goes along with the award, and when Sandy, our executive, whatever she's called, the person that keeps this chapter organized in May, but she said, you know they're going to spend that on beer and girls, right? When it's supposed to be for their education, but well, that might be education too, so it's okay. So I'll let Adrian announce the winner of the recipient of the second award, who isn't here tonight. But.
Yeah. So Jameson isn't here tonight, but Jameson Wood was the second recipient. He coached, co-president, I think it was, of the Carleton ASHRAE group, and both of them did similar things. They came out to the events, and they helped me organize the career fair, as well as multiple events about ASHRAE. So the second one was Jameson Wood.
Adrian, hang on to that for now. Apparently, well, both Jameson and Alex actually graduated from Carleton this year, and Jameson is working in London, Ontario. So whether he will be back with his summer job, we're not sure, or whether it's a permanent job, in which case maybe we won't see him for a little while, but we'll make sure that he gets the award. Okay, the last award that I want to make, and this requires a little bit of explanation, so bear with me. So, as many of you have been members of this chapter for some time, you know that each year we present the Al Oakes Award of Excellence to an individual of this chapter for his or her outstanding contributions to the chapter over a period of time and in many different ways. The award is given to an individual who consistently demonstrates enthusiasm, leadership, qualities, and the ability to motivate others, while at the same time showing commitment and dedication to the responsibilities of ASHRAE. I never had the privilege of meeting Al Oakes. I joined this chapter in 1987, which seems like a long time ago now, which it was, but Al passed away in either 82 or 83. So we've been giving this award since that time. And like I said, I didn't know him, but I know that he was a long-standing member. He was president of the chapter, and even after his presidency, continued to serve the chapter and do all kinds of great things. So that was the reason that the award was created in his honor, and like I said, we've been giving it since 1983. Now, just over 2 years ago, another member of this chapter was lost, unfortunately, to a very untimely passing, and that was Paul Baker. And I think those of us who knew Paul very well, and I put myself in that category, Paul was president when I joined this chapter, had many of the same qualities that Al Oakes had in terms of his ongoing contribution, dedication, and the first person to step up to volunteer for something. And I think he was on the Board of Governors for his probably second, third, fourth term, I don't know, up until he passed away. So shortly after his passing, it was suggested to me by a senior member of this chapter that an award should be created to honor Paul and his history with this chapter and his contributions, and I couldn't have agreed more. I reviewed it with the awards committee, and they were fully supportive. Should have done it, or could have done it this time last year, except I wasn't here myself to do it, so we did it this year. And what we did, because I think the qualities of those two individuals was very similar, and the reason that we are making this award are really similar, so we have decided to combine the award into a Baker Oakes Award. So I am pleased tonight to be making the presentation of the first ever Baker Oaks Award of Excellence. And this year's recipient has been a member of this chapter for a number of years, is a very regular attendee at chapter meetings, and has participated in a range of activities in support of this chapter, including several years on the Board of Governors. And most recently, he took over as chapter historian and has probably already taken your picture this evening. So I'm really pleased to announce that the recipient of the first Baker Oaks Award is Aaron Dobson. Okay, that's it for now. I will turn it over to the president, and you will see me later when we do the installation of the new board. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. So that is it for the business session before dinner. Hopefully you've enjoyed your soups and appetizers. There's more to come afterwards. We're going to take a little break. Actually, no, wait, I take it all back. There is one more thing before dinner. Jim Newman is our presenter this evening, who fills myriad roles, has done an awful lot with ASHRAE. One of the items that he's quite knowledgeable about is the ASHRAE BEQ program. He wanted to give a bit of a talk about that, and while that's not the main topic of discussion, I think it bears interest. So he'll take about 10 minutes right now. The food is going to be coming out while he speaks, and then he'll continue with his evening presentation a little later on. So without further ado, Jim Newman.
Yes, what is the
Some of you aren't going to be able to see this. We're sitting off in the far reaches here to the side, but I was actually asked, I really didn't volunteer to do this, like I said. I was asked to do this because we were one of the 16 energy auditors chosen in the States to be the beta test team for this new BEQ program, Building Energy Quotient. How many people are not familiar with the BEQ program? My guess would be most of you. Okay. How many of you have ASHRAE certifications like EAP or OPMP or BEMP, those recent certifications that ASHRAE has come out with? Okay. The way this was originally set up, the only people who could use this program, this Building Energy Quotient program, were ASHRAE members who had the Building Energy Assessment Professional designation, BEAP. When they came out with one of the versions, other versions that I'll tell you about, BEMP, Building Energy Modeling Professionals, could do it, and then because of a lot of pushback from ASHRAE, they added PE to the list. So if you're a PE, even if you don't have the BEAP or the BEMP, you can use this program. And what it is, or why it came out, is because back a little bit more than 10 years ago, the European Union came out with a program where you had to say what your EUI, your Energy Utilization Index was. It's in BTUs per square foot per year, which is what we're using in BEQ. So there are a lot of international efforts to use this kind of information, and we have a lot of ways to do it in the United States. It is similar, but better than EPA's Energy Star. Energy Star is strictly an energy certification, or an energy use, tells you what your energy use index for your building is. So does BEQ. And these are the other things that we look at sometimes. We've got all these other programs in the States. How many of you are familiar with LEED? Canada has a really good LEED program, probably a little bit better than what we have in the States, actually. Then there's Green Globes, which is a Canadian operation, and you've got BOMA with its 360 program and other various state labeling and disclosure programs. But BEQ is different. BEQ came from a lot of these programs, probably more from EPA's Energy Star than some of these others, but it actually complements those programs. And because states and cities are saying, building owners, and most of them start with their own municipal buildings, but they're saying to building owners, you're going to have to tell a potential lessee, a potential tenant in your building, or a potential buyer, how many BTUs per square foot your building uses per year. Well, if you've got a good building, that's wonderful. If you don't have a good building, it's not so wonderful. We started out with the in-operation rating, and now we have an as-designed rating. And here's the differentiation, real fast. I'm not going to go through all these, but for those of you who are ASHRAE members, it's a good way to create a better relationship with facility managers, building owners, building engineers, those types of people. And it's normalized by climate zone, just like Energy Star is. So you can compare a building in Ottawa with a building in Texas, or a building in New York, or a building in San Francisco, because all the climate zones are normalized. So this is what we're looking at. It's different from the green building programs, because green building programs focus on a lot more things than just energy use. This is strictly energy use, little bit of IAQ. You've got to do what ASHRAE says, unfortunately, a level 1 energy audit. Because when you get into this, it's really not a level 1 energy audit. It's not a level 2, but it's about a level 1.4, 1.5, something like that. It's much more than just a walkthrough energy audit. So it's not a 4-hour walkthrough of a building to get the information you need to do this building energy quotient. But here are some of the benefits. It tells the building owner what's really going on in their building. How many BTUs per square foot per year are you really using? And you can compare your building with other buildings, similar type buildings. So it makes it very useful for the building owner, the facility manager, to know if they're doing well or they're not doing well. And you can track what's going on. So here's what we came out with originally, the in-operation rating, and that's what we did when we went out. There were 16 energy auditors chosen by ASHRAE to do this beta testing of this program. And it took a long time. I was out on the building we did, which was a 750,000 square foot commercial office building with 3 other people from Newman Consulting, and we spent an entire day at this building. So it got a little pricey for the energy auditors that did this. And you know, we're all volunteers. We do a lot of good stuff for ASHRAE as volunteers. And it was very educational to us. Now, this is in operation, is existing buildings, building has to have been in operation for at least 12 months. So it can be used on fairly new buildings, but they've got to be in operation for 12 months. And usually when you're doing an energy audit, how many people here do energy audits? Not enough. More of you should get into it. It's really very, very important. Whether you're a consulting engineer or a contractor or whatever, energy audits are very important for buildings. And it's a standard audit based on the metered energy use of a building. The as-designed rating is something you're using as an engineer to design the building and kind of find out where it's going to be after you've designed it. And you can use it in new or existing buildings. If you're going to do a major retrofit, that sort of thing. Or you look at the as-designed design and you compare it with the in-operation rating and see how it compares. Is the operation of the building doing as well as the design said it should? Very seldom does that happen. And those of you who are in the consulting business may have already been involved in some pushback from building owners when you get the comment, you said my building was going to use so many BTUs per square foot per year, and it's using a whole lot more. Now, why is that? Well, sometimes it's because maybe your energy model wasn't quite right. And why might it not have been quite right? Because it goes back to garbage in, garbage out. When an owner is building a brand new building, they can only tell you what they expect is going to be in that building and how that building is going to operate, and it doesn't always work out that way. You might get a data center move in or a 24/7 operation, and the owner said, my building is going to operate 5 10-hour days and 1 8-hour day on Saturday, and all of a sudden you've got a 24/7 operation in there, which obviously makes the energy use go up. ASHRAE updates this. The Building Energy Quotient Committee updates this on a relatively continual basis. So here's everything that just happened this month. I'm in constant contact with people at Society headquarters as a distinguished lecturer speaker, and because I have the BEAP and I speak on VEQ, we're totally kept up to date on what's going on. But you can go to that website and you can see what's going on. There's a lot of good new information because we needed those changes. And there have been, I think, about 30 buildings now certified through the BEQ program. Here's what it is. It's a very, very simple label. Any junior high school kid can understand this label. It's A+ through F. Everybody knows what those grades are, and that's how the label comes out after the BEQ in operation program is done. And the website is buildingenergyquotient.com. It's real simple to get to, and there's a tremendous amount of information on there. The as-designed rating will have some new changes to it. Some changes to it very shortly. So if you're at all interested, whether you're a building owner or a facility manager, to get this done, or whether you're an engineer who might do it, just look on that buildingenergyquotient.com website from time to time and see what's going on there. And they've just updated the in-operation rating as to how you put it together. They've made it a lot easier. There were some problems. I mean, it's only a couple of years old, so it's, version 2 point something now, and it will continue to get better. And hopefully get a little easier to do too, because this is what they're finding out, this is what they're doing to it, to make it easier for us to do. So that's it, and enjoy your meal.
So that really does conclude the business portion before dinner. Enjoy the rest of your appetizers and the meal. We'll pick things up in a little bit. Thank you. Get back to the evening's program. So dessert is being served, coffee will be served. There's one other item of business that we need to take care of before we get into our past presidential stuff and some of the installation of the new people. So we do have one other tabletop here from a manufacturer, which is what we often have on our other meetings. So at this point I'd ask Alexis Tadina to come up from Eagle Air and just say a couple of words about his tabletop.
Good morning, everyone. Tonight we have a tabletop that focuses on Mitsubishi VRF systems. So I invite everyone to come by and see what's the latest features are for technology that's becoming mainstream, if you will. Not so well known in North America yet, but it will be at some point. So I invite everyone to come by and see what Mitsubishi's VRF has to offer. Thank you very much.
Manufacturers typically come in and do tabletops like this. It's a way that we're able to raise a little bit of funds for the operation of the chapter. So do try to take a couple minutes, have a chat, take a look through some of the literature. It's a great way to learn about new technology that, like Alexis says, is coming more into form. The next item, as many of you know here, this is Past President's Night. We invite all the past presidents to attend with their companions. The people that Aaron's going to be calling up in just a minute have invested literally years and years of their volunteer time into making this chapter operate. It's an entirely volunteer position that we do here, and to go through the presidential role usually involves 5 or 6 years at committees, as committee chairs, being on the board, eventually working your way to the executive through the secretary, the treasurer, the president-elect, and the president, the past president. So, like I said, everybody who's going to be called up is put in a ton of time for ASHRAE, and it's people who put in this type of effort that really make the chapter as strong as it is. And I can say, having been at various CRCs and interacting with people from all over North America, Ottawa-Valley has a really strong chapter. So I'll ask Aaron to come up, introduce all of the past presidents that we have here. We'll do a toast and then have a little photo with everybody. So, Aaron Dobson, here he is.
So this year we have 21 past presidents here, 62 past presidents. So it's a great turnout. Thank you for coming. So top of the list for our past presidents, 1969, 1970, George Karskellen. If you can stand by the bar, we'll join for a picture afterwards.
Stand over by the door.
Next we have Bob McKee, 1978, 1979. Roy Beckman, 1981, 1982. Dalton McIntyre, 1982, 1983. I just want to pause for a second. This is like a very interesting history fact, and Rod Potter has mentioned it many times, but back in January 1949, there was a meeting to discuss a new chapter in Ottawa, which is now the Ottawa-Valley chapter, and Mr. Dalton McIntyre was president of that meeting over 65 years ago. So it's amazing that Dalton's here with us today. Frank Vakulik, 1984, 1985. John Dugan, 1986, 1987. Simon Joel, 1987, 1988. Byron Landry, 1990, 1991. Chris Farley, 1991, 1992. Ross McIntyre, 1993, 1994. Emma Kerr, 1996, 1997. Swain, 2000-2001. Lance Shee, New In Weeks, 2002-2003. Kathy Godin, 2004-2005. Glenn McLean, 2006-2007. Robert Lefebvre, 2007-2008. Patrick St. Ange, 2008-2009. Christine Pett, 2010-2011. Stephen Lynch, 2011-2012. Donald Weeks, 2012-2013. And finally, Rod Potter, 2013-2014. If I can ask Kathy to do our annual toast of the past presidents.
Okay.
Should be the guest.
They're still playing.
Take a milk back there.
Well, you're toasting us, so we need to talk.
Well, we can take a picture while we're waiting.
Yeah, just
All
arrange
right.
it however you like, John. Okay. Well, not however you like.
You're smiling too much now.
Arrange them appropriately.
So, in toasting this group of past presidents, I was thinking about Steve's theme of mentorship this year. And you see this group before you as the wizened past leaders of this chapter. And some great mentors and some great examples. And I hope you all will toast this group of past presidents this evening. And also those that can't be with us this evening. To us. Thank you.
Now we know they mean it.
All the rest of
Okay. Chin chin, here's to us.
Cheers.
And here's to the chapter in the future.
Thank you.
So we're going to do a photo?
Yep, we're going to do a group photo. Can you get one ready?
Thanks for the opportunity.
Just stay up and we'll do it. John, are you good for a group photo or do you want to? Are you all done?
No, I haven't done it yet.
Okay, yeah, if you could just all stay at the front, guys, for a group photo.
She called me
Ottawa's important market.
Challenge.
You can't see me, I can't see you. So please stick your heads out so you can see me. Smiles. Which was born. Are you looking here?
Cheers, Kathy. Wish you a good year. Congratulations, Sarah.
Instead of going the other way. Have you been married?
So we're right near the end of our program here. There's only a few more things left to do before we get to the evening technical session. And this is going to be my last function as acting president. But no, we had to hit the bell. They're giving me the sign for the bell. Perfect. So, like I said, this is going to be the last thing that I do as acting president. So, we're waiting a year to get this off my chest, so you guys are really going to hear it now. But no, in all seriousness, as the last thing, what I really feel I need to do is thank a couple people for making this year such a really enjoyable one. And first of all, it goes to most of the people here, just the membership. We've got a really dedicated group, people who enjoy attending, people who put effort into coming and giving feedback and helping us try to improve and put on a better program. People who don't shoo us away when we chase them for raffle tickets. People who respond when we send them emails asking for their help. So the membership at large is a great one and lets us do a lot of good stuff here. Moving up the pyramid a little bit, the Board of Governors this year has been really strong, very responsive. Anybody but the 30 people in this room who have been past presidents know that the bulk of the job is delegation. And if you don't feel you have quality people to delegate to, it means a lot of work on your plate. And I was very, very lucky to have an extremely skilled and dedicated task force of people with me who were able to accomplish those with very little direction, making my job extremely easy. And lastly, the incoming executive, George and Abby and Adam and Dan. It's as strong a group as I know. They are great people, really smart, very dedicated, and I can't think of better people to lead the chapter too. So get ready for spectacular things to come. So I'm sure they've got lots of planned, and they absolutely will not let you down. So anything you've got, think, fire for the moon, think for the stars. They will fulfill. And without any further ado, I'll ask Bob Kilpatrick to come up and install the new executive and Board of Governors.
Would anyone like decaf?
Well, thanks, Dave. Those are very encouraging words from you as the past president, or soon to be, in terms of encouraging people to reach for the stars and so on.
It's coming.
Okay. Tonight, as you all know, or those who have been associated with the chapter for a certain amount of time, tonight is the night when we install our new executive and board and so on for the upcoming society year. And as the nominating committee chair, it is my honor to perform that installation. So just a little bit of background. It is important to remember that ASHRAE is an engineering technical society organized to advance the arts and sciences of the engineering of heating, ventilating, air conditioning, and refrigerating to serve humanity and to promote a sustainable world. Let us remember the founding principles of our society and to assist those individuals charged to provide the leadership in the year ahead. The accomplishments of ASHRAE's objectives require the devoted efforts of thousands of members to contribute their time and their talent to the activities of the society. Many ASHRAE members who have made substantial contributions to the society are here tonight, as witnessed by the large number of past presidents, and we all know that every one of them here put in the time and was dedicated and contributed a great deal to the success of this chapter. The officers and board of governors of this chapter who are about to be installed are accepting a highly important responsibility to serve us during the ensuing term of office. You have elected them to their offices, but you also have a responsibility to help them in the conduct of the affairs of this chapter. To make this chapter an effective contributor to ASHRAE accomplishing its objectives requires the coordinated effort of all members of the chapter. Participation in chapter and society activities will reward you in your knowledge of the industry, but it will also enhance your professional growth as you serve your community and this society. As members, it is your responsibility to provide your time and talent to serve when called and to contribute your interest, ability, and constructive criticism to the building of a better chapter and a better society for the service of the general public and our profession. As is true in any organized society, the authority of the direction of the affairs of the society is delegated to the officers and governors who are elected by the members. So it is my privilege now to present and install those who are about to serve our chapter for the next society year. So I'll start with the office of chapter president, and I will call George Mamari forward. While he's coming from way back there, I will say that the general leadership of the chapter is entrusted to George. He will act as the chair of the board of governors, act as chief executive officer, ex officio, and be a part of all committees. As chief executive of the chapter, it will be your responsibility to see that the policy directives of society and of your board of directors are carried out. You are the one to whom the members of the chapter can and will direct their criticisms of chapter policies and activities regarding the operations of the chapter. The service of president of the Ottawa-Valley chapter carries with it a great honor, a real responsibility, and a lot of hard work. Despite Steve saying it was easy, I don't believe it is. George, do you promise to fulfill the duties and responsibilities of your office as specified in the manual for chapter operations? I do. It is my distinct pleasure on behalf of the chapter members to install you as a chapter president, and I wish you every success in your office. Thank you. For the office of president-elect, I will call Abby Saunders forward. Abby, as principal assistant to the president, you will at all times be prepared to assume the duties of the president should the president be unable to attend chapter or board meetings, and also such other duties as may be delegated to you. Abby, do you promise to fulfill the duties of your office as specified in the manual for chapter operations? Then it is my pleasure to install you in the office of president-elect for the Ottawa-Valley chapter. For the office of chapter treasurer, I'll call forward Adam Graham from way back. Adam, it will be your duty to prepare the budget, receive all monies, pay all authorized accounts, and give due accounting financially whenever you are called upon. Do you promise to fulfill the duties of your office as detailed in the manual for chapter operations? Yes. Good answer. Adam, I am pleased to install you in the office of chapter treasurer for the Ottawa-Valley chapter. For the office of chapter secretary, Dan Redmond. Where's Dan? Of course he's back there. Dan, it will be your particular responsibility to keep due records of meetings, attend to correspondence, and be an aid to the senior officers of the chapter. Do you promise to fulfill the duties of your office as specified in the manual for chapter operations? Dan, it is my pleasure to install you in the office of chapter secretary of the Ottawa-Valley chapter. now for the Board of Governors. The following chapter members have been elected as governors for the Ottawa-Valley chapter for the Society year of 2015-2016. Richard Cameron, who I don't believe is here tonight. I haven't seen Richard. Okay. Aaron Dobson, who is here. Chris Frawley, who is here. Chris Fudge, who is here. And Adam Moons, who is here as well. If they can come forward. Because of your demonstrated interest and activity in society affairs, your fellow members have elected you to represent them on the Board of Governors. It will be your responsibility to meet as a board, to deliberate and take actions on any matters that may come before it. Since the Board of Governors is the governing body of the chapter, it is an honor and a privilege to serve on it. It is my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the members of this chapter, to install you as the officers and members of the Board of Governors of the chapter. Congratulations. Fellow ASHRAE members and guests, this concludes the installation ceremony. And if we could join together and give our new board and executive a round of applause, I would appreciate that. And remember, they need and deserve your support throughout the year. So let's all try to pitch in and help them when we can. Mr. Chapter President, here's your gavel. And the chapter wishes you good luck. Thank you. Yours, George. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yes. Yes. No. That's George's rule.
All right. Hi, everyone. As a first order of business, I want to congratulate Steve Moons for the tremendous job he's done over the last year on putting together this successful program for us and all the events that took place. Over the last 9 months, Steve was able to positively implement his mentorship team with the use of the technical sessions, which I truly believe was a great value to the new, younger members of our society on the various outlooks of our industry. Steve also worked hard at exploring various avenues in order to give back to the Ottawa-Valley chapter. You guys hear me well?
Yes.
All right. In order to give back to our chapter, it has successfully put into motion a strategy to establish an Ottawa-Valley scholarship. And Steve, rest assured, the executive and the board will continue working in that direction. Hopefully, we'll see the scholarship come to life in the next couple of years. So that being said, I want to present to you your presidential pin and your certificate of appreciation. Well deserved. I bought it at the dollar store. All right. Congratulations. I can grab a seat, relax, take a load off. Someone get this guy a drink or something. I won't take much of your time since we had a lot to go through today. As part of the upcoming year, I'm sure you all agree with me in saying that we have a tremendous group on our executive, our board, and committee chairs that I'm sure will do a fantastic job of putting together a very successful year starting next September. Over the last couple of years, it's been somewhat of a tradition for the Ottawa-Valley chapter incoming president to come up with a special touch for the upcoming year. And I think we have Stephen Lynch to thank for that. I think he was the first one to come up with that. Thanks, Steve. The whole intention of this is really to make my life that much easier because I have to really come up with a theme for tonight. So putting a lot of thought into it in the last couple of weeks, I came up with the following. So having chaired the CTC committee in my earlier days at ASHRAE, I had the opportunity to be exposed to many amazing projects through the awards program as we saw earlier with Dan Redmond. In fact, I'm sure that these awards are only a fraction of what really goes on in our fabulous city. We have seen a lot of major projects in the last couple of years, major new constructions, major renovations. We even have a new LRT system that's coming up. Some of which have very fascinating design elements that make them distinctive. We hand out awards each year without necessarily sharing what some of these elements are, so I decided why not showcase what is really happening in our city. So stay tuned for an upcoming season where some focus will be put towards showcasing our ASHRAE community. So that was it for my presidential speech. Moving on to the final business is the raffle draw. So I gotta get the tickets over there. Give me a second. Actually, I'll get Dan. Dan, can you give me the tickets in the back? Delegate. Key. Red ticket. Thanks. Fabulous job. All right, so we raffled off 2 tickets to the Red Blocks for the season opener. The tickets were donated by In Air, and we were able to raise $500. So thank you very much. That all goes towards ASHRAE research. So I will get our speaker, Jim, to draw the ticket.
Eyes are closed.
All right, so the winning ticket is 794144. 794144.
It's probably a jar from the last way.
Don't close your eyes this time.
I bought tickets and left.
Guess we'll do another one, huh?
Last chance.
Nope.
I'm coming around this
There you go, red one, that's it.
All right, red ticket. 896306.
What you just, yes, give it back. We gave the ticket.
This is a
One more
great
time. You just said.
Hopefully it's the last one. 794077.
He wants his ticket.
794077. Okay, on to our program. Tonight we have James Newman who will be presenting Transforming Older Buildings into High Performance Facility. Jim is the owner and managing partner of Newman Consulting Group. He's also a trainer for ASHRAE Energy Standard 90.1. He's been heavily involved with a lot of committees, including committees with BOMA, the USGBC. He's also published numerous papers on indoor air quality, energy conservation, and leaks. So, without further ado, Jim. towards the end. If you don't mind, if you guys can't see the screen, if you guys want to come towards the middle.
Now that you've seen half the presentation, we might be able to do this in less than an hour. Actually, I got some bad news for you. I might not, depending on how many people are looking to get learning units, whether from GBCI or AIA for this presentation. I'm just saying if there are none, we can make this shorter. Because this is actually a 1.5 learning unit presentation. It's an hour and a half presentation. I did hide some of the slides so it would not be an hour and a half. But since we're starting a half hour late, I'm going to go pretty fast. So, that being said, let's go back to the beginning because there's some things you have to see from ASHRAE. Oh yeah, you were well into the presentation. Yeah, we did. It's just escape. We have to do these first 3 slides. But since you've already seen them before, right? Right. Everybody knows what these first 3 slides are. Good. It's basically about being more active in ASHRAE, and it sounds like this is a very active chapter. So, make sure this works. Turn it on, it will help. I didn't see any questionnaires on the table, and I was told that you get them through email, which is very cool. I learn a lot when I do these DL talks, to bring back to my own chapter. You've seen this. You've got a lot of leaders that have been leaders, and a lot of you are obviously going to be the future leaders. This is what I do. I never work, you know, I just go around doing all these free talks all over the world, but I'm pretty active. And think about this. ASHRAE has these new designations. And if you're working for a large company and there are 2 of you up for promotion or for getting, we don't use the word fired anymore, right? And you're exactly the same, except one of you has one of these designations. Which one is going to get the promotion or keep their job? So it's a good thing to do, to get at least a couple of letters after your name. This is what we're going to be talking about. You've seen it up there already. And we're HVAC people. You've got to convince the owners that HVAC is truly the heart and lungs of the building, and that high-performing HVAC systems are a major component of high-performing buildings. So here's some of the trade-offs. On the left is what the architects are responsible for. On the right is what we're responsible for. But what they do very definitely affects what we end up doing. So it's worthwhile to know what's in ASHRAE Energy Standard 90.1, which many architects don't even have in their office. It's an ASHRAE standard. Why should we have it in our office? When we do LEED certification of buildings, we find many of the smaller architects have no idea what 90.1 is. Oh, that's some ASHRAE thing. There's nothing in there for us. There's a whole chapter in there. And you need to know what's in that chapter so you can help the architects design a better building envelope. And it very much affects what we do with our design and how much energy the building uses. I talk to a lot of building maintenance people, building engineers, facility managers, building owners and developers. And as soon as you build a building and start it, it starts to deteriorate. So green goes to gray very, very, very quickly. So you have what we just talked about before dinner, ASHRAE BEQ, and you have EPA Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And both of these will tell an owner what's going on in the building, but then you do an energy audit. And there were only about 4 or 5 hands that went up when I asked how many people do energy audits. It's important that you learn how to do this. It's important that you know what's in an energy audit, because you can really help your clients do a better job in their buildings and help the architects do a better job designing the building envelope when you know how to do these things. And an energy audit is very different than designing a system. It's knowing how a system is really supposed to operate, knowing what's wrong with the system. If you go to our website, there are a number of blogs. We've made our website a very educational, resource-rich website. There's a lot of blogs and articles on there that are basically for building owners and developers or for ASHRAE people. So this is what an energy audit does. Those level 1, 2, and 3 and the preliminary, examining the utility bills for information, those all come right from the ASHRAE book on commercial building energy audits. It's a good book to look at. A lot of good information in it. Much better than the first one that came out. This one came out, this version 2, about 3 years ago. Excellent book. This is what we look at. The ones with the asterisks were in the Energy Policy Act of 2005, which has been extended, and you can still get up to 60 cents a square foot for lighting, HVAC, and building envelope improvements. That's a tax deduction, not a tax, or a tax credit, not a tax deduction. We just did a LEED certified building about 6 years ago for an automobile dealer. LEED Gold, they got $145,000, and they were in the 35% tax bracket. So they picked up $45,000 just because they were LEED Gold and did all these wonderful things to conserve energy in their building. Here's what the energy audit does. Now you have to be careful. Are there any building owners, developers, facility managers in here? 2. You have to be careful when you have an energy audit done that the people really know what they're doing. This is where this BEAP, Building Energy Audit Professional designation of ASHRAE, comes in kind of handy. And the BEQ labeling is much more severe than the portfolio manager, the Energy Star portfolio manager. But after the energy audit comes what? Comes retro commissioning. Here's what is in the energy audit. Here's what needs to be done. And then the energy auditor and the building owner developer sit down together and decide what they're really going to do. And you may be able to get some rebates from Ontario Hydro or whomever when you do some of these retrofits. But this is what it does. Reduces O&M expenses, reduces consumption of natural resources, and many times you'll have an improved indoor air quality. Here are some other ones. If you have better IAQ in a building, typically people are healthier. You'll increase the productivity. There won't be so many days off for being sick. And for the building engineer, you reduce the complaints of the people. You get more tenant satisfaction if they're in a building that keeps the temperatures in the various areas what they're supposed to be, has the proper amount of outdoor air ventilation, so you're not increasing the CO2 levels, and on and on and on. So how do you do it? Well, there are some very no-cost, low-cost ways to do it. I took the chairmanship of the BOMA Sustainability Committee in Detroit 5 years ago. I didn't need any more committee chairmanships or even being on any more committees, but I did it for one reason, to find out why these building owners weren't doing energy audits. It really bothered me that I knew there were a lot of badly operating buildings in the Detroit area, southeast Michigan, north of Windsor, by the way. Good trivia question. The only city in the United States that's north of Canada is Detroit. How about that? I bet most of you didn't know that. And Windsor's in Ontario, too. But anyway, look at these simple things. A lot of them, all of these are no cost, low cost. The bottom one, properly clean cooling and heating coils, you would be amazed at how many buildings we go into, and I'll show you some pictures, that the evaporator coil, the chill water coil, has become the filter. It is just absolutely amazing. If you clean those coils, I'll show you what happens. But it's all about proper O&M practices. So, you go into a building, this is what we talk about, the design engineer going into a building to see how the building's operating. This is what you see a lot of times. Filters that are almost totally plugged. So what happens when a filter gets totally plugged? This is what happens. The fan says, hey, I'm a constant volume machine. I want more air going through me. So it rips the filters apart. And then what happens? You rip those dirty filters apart, the air comes through, but it sure doesn't get filtered. And when that happens, here's what the coil looks like. So the coil becomes the filter. And then if you clean it, typically like most building engineers do and maintenance people, they take the cold water valve and the garden hose with a garden hose connection on it, and they clean off the front and they clean off the back, and they drive all that dirt into the center of a 6-row coil. Doesn't do any good. It makes the coil look good from the front and the back, but all the dirt's on the inside. So, this is basically what I just said, and there's a lot of ways to clean a coil. Here's one that was cleaned properly. Look at the velocity through the coil in the second column. Look at the difference in the post-clean velocity through that coil. I mean, you were talking, look at number 7. I mean, it had no air going through it. So you can imagine that the people in that, well, look at number 5, 77 feet per minute. They're just not getting the air in the space. So are they comfortable? No, they're complaining every single day. I'm too hot, I'm too cold, there's not enough air, it's feeling clammy in here, or whatever. These are the kinds of things that happen. There's a high school. The difference in static pressure through the coil after the proper cleaning. These are the kinds of things that go on. The other thing that we're not showing here is the difference in heat transfer. The coefficient of heat transfer in a coil, when the coil is dirty, it's pretty bad. It sure isn't anywhere near close to where the coil was clean. And here's the other thing. The biofilm that grows on the coil, where the copper tube goes through the aluminum fin, you get this biofilm on the coil, and because I knew this was going to be a dinner presentation, I hid a couple of the slides also to make it a little bit shorter. But if you want the full presentation, give me your card afterwards and I'll send it to you. And actually, I understand it's going to be on your website eventually. But this is the problem. You've heard the dirty sock syndrome kind of thing. It's from the biofilm. You've got to get the biofilm off the coil as well as the particulate. So here's some moderate cost ways of reducing energy. Sealing the ductwork. I mean, some of these you're familiar with, obviously. Variable frequency drives, etc. But sealing the ductwork, EPA says the leakage through typical ductwork is 10 to 15%. We've seen it 20 to 30%. So what happens when you have all that leakage through the ductwork, not getting into the space, keeping the people comfortable? The chiller works harder. Or if it's a VAV system, the VFD has the fans running in the 54 to 60 hertz range instead of the 40 to 50 hertz range or less. In the wintertime, we just did a building in Detroit 3 months ago. They were all 54 to 58 hertz in the middle of the winter. They shouldn't have been any more than 45. The coils were so dirty that in order to get the air, they had to be close to 60 hertz. And I just finished writing a blog that'll be in our newsletter and on our website in a couple of days about what the savings is. We're ASHRAE people. What do you save? What's the relationship between the RPM of a fan and the energy? It varies as the cube of the RPM. So if you lower the RPM by just 10%, 0.9 times 0.9 times 0.9, it's like 27% less energy. If you lower it by 20%, it's almost 50% less energy. That is a phenomenal energy saving for having clean filters and clean coils. These are the kinds of things we look at. So transforming an existing building into a high-performance facility, a lot of times it's really, really simple. And the energy audit, the owner doesn't have to pay a lot of money to change out chillers or do the fancy, expensive, deep energy retrofits that are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year paybacks. A lot of these are no-cost, low-cost paybacks. So they don't have to be afraid of getting a good energy audit. The key word there is good. We've had a number of owners tell us, we had the people in who did the energy audit, they didn't even know what was in the energy audit. And when I asked them a question, they couldn't answer the question. So why did we waste our money on an energy audit? There's a lot of people out there who are not doing good energy audits. Who should be doing them? Really good design build or / service contractors or good engineers who've learned how to do energy audits. That's where we come in. We know how the system is supposed to operate. Let's do the energy audits. It's another profit center for your company if you're not doing it now. So, here's a moderate cost one, the one on the bottom. Repair an air handling unit rather than replacing it. If you replace an air handling unit, think about it. You have to take it out. You have to put the new one in. This is not a one-day project. So, here's something to look at. ASHRAE has a database which is constantly updated with new information for all kinds of equipment. You know, notice it says DX air distribution equipment except rooftop units, because rooftop units are all over the map. A relatively inexpensive rooftop unit, you're lucky if you get 15 years out of it. And the maintenance starts going up after that. We were just on a building just last week where supposedly the filters were changed every quarter. And the people in the building had never been up on the roof. I said, let's go up on the roof. Oh, what a concept. So we went up on the roof. And what did we find? We found dirty filters all over the roof, which is sign number one. This is not a really great service contractor. And then we opened up the filter section door. And what did we find? We found filters that probably hadn't been replaced in 4 years. The rooftop units were 7 years old. And some of those filters might have been in there from year number 1. Then there was another unit that had no filters in it at all. So can you imagine what that coil looked like? And other units had filters missing. I said, you guys need to fire this service contractor. And if you want to start a lawsuit, I'll be very happy to help you for free, because I was so upset. But these are the kinds of things that go on. So, repair or replace. There's a before, there's an after. There's another before, here's an after. And remember, older air handling units have flat condensate drain pans. And they have the condensate drain typically on the side of the air handling unit. And it's typically, because it's all welded around it, at least 3/8 to a ½ inch above the bottom of the condensate drain pan floor. So what do you have in there? You've got constant water just sitting there, growing bacteria. Sits over the weekend, and you start it up on the owner starts it up on a Monday morning, and all that stuff bioaerosolizes and goes down the ducts to keep the people real healthy on Monday mornings. They're already feeling bad being there after maybe a rough weekend or whatever, and now they're getting all this bad stuff, bacteria and fungi and mold and everything else coming down the ductwork at them that they're breathing. Here's what these after pictures consist of. This is new technology, nanotechnology. Some of the things that are happening are wonderful. Some of the new batteries we're going to have for wind energy and solar energy a couple of years from now are going to be absolutely mind-boggling. But these are the kinds of things that companies do. Totally rebuild the cooling section of the unit or the entire unit and slope the drain pan properly so you don't have standing water, and on and on and on. It's antimicrobial and whatever. So here's some higher cost ones. Number 2, bullet points, smaller centrifugal compressors, oilless with magnetic bearings, now up to more than 700 tons. They came out quite a few years ago. It's got to be about 20 years now, I think, and now they're up to 700 plus tons. And these chillers are phenomenal, because what are some of the problems with centrifugal chillers? It's oil return. And they're quiet, and they're phenomenally efficient, and a lot of them are 2 compressors per unit. So when you have one compressor operating with a larger evaporator and a larger condenser that operates at really low kW per ton, you're looking at a little over 0.3 kW per ton in many cases. These are all the kinds of things that we look at and that we're doing as engineers. So lighting, of course, is in there. A lot of ways to do good things with lighting, so your electrical engineers should be doing all of these, or building owners, you need to be looking at these for your buildings. Here's renewables. You know, we all think about wind turbines as these huge, 40-meter blades and whatever 150 feet high thing is that they sit on, whatever you would say 150 feet is. I could figure it out, but we don't have the time. Look at the one on the right. It's an upside-down egg beater. It's only a 105-foot high tower. It's quiet. It'll turn at higher wind speeds, and it'll perform at lower wind speeds. And I mean, it's not a 1 megawatt wind turbine, but a 1 megawatt wind turbine takes up 10 acres. And you can't put them behind each other because the wind pattern disturbs the one behind it. These, you don't worry about that. 1 per acre. So in 10 acres, if this is 65 kW, you got 0.65 megawatts in 1 acre, or in 10 acres rather, like you had before, but it's quiet. Birds and bats can fly through it, so you don't have a problem with the various organizations that want to protect those, and on and on and on. But think about all of these kinds of things. A lot of ways to save water, and water is becoming much more serious. I'm sure even in Canada here, you read about what's going on the west coast of the States, and California, and all the drought, and et cetera, et cetera. It's all over the place. Here's one more way to save water. One of my favorites. Actually, we just moved into a brand new house with huge showers. It's very nice. Rainwater. Look at the water, and it's in the worst part of the season. High heat, high humidity. We get the most water off our chill water coils at that time. Use it to supplement the water that's evaporated from the cooling tower. And you save a lot of water from the tower. Green roofs, of course, anybody who's done a LEED job, saves a lot of water, keeps it from going into the city storm drains, and on and on and on. And we've done a number of LEED projects with large collection cisterns, concrete ones underneath the ground, and they use them for irrigation. Real simple. But you have to be careful, because all these 1.6 GPF toilets, and there may be 1.2 or whatever or even 1.0 on the dual flush, low flush, there's just not enough water in there to get everything far enough down the pipes. So what we tell people who are redesigning or putting in new toilets and urinals and everything in existing buildings, make sure you keep a couple of those old ones that are 4 to 5 gallons per flush at the end of the system, so you flush things down a little bit further. It's just a good move, and it took us a long time in ASHRAE to realize that 1.6 GPF in an old building without the right pitch or with problems in the drain lines is not always the best way to go. It's a great way to save water, but you're going to spend a lot more money on having your plumber come up and clean out your pipes once a year. So we put it all together. What do? Testing and balancing. We say the HVAC system is performing like it's supposed to, the right amount of water, the right amount of air, Commissioning is all about the entire system working properly in conjunction with the building. How many people here do commissioning? We didn't have too many. Oh, we got more commissioners than commissioning agents than we do energy auditors. Good for you. More of you should be doing that too. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, architects and engineers did it. And then as the income from the jobs kept on going lower and lower because the owners wouldn't pay us what we really deserve, we just stopped doing it. And now there's commissioning agents that do it as a separate item for a whole lot more money. And they get paid for it sometimes. So the real key here is that we can do a great job designing. And we typically do a pretty good job of designing. But if there isn't good O&M, it ain't going to happen. It just isn't going to do it. So these are the kinds of things that we have to do to make sure the building is operating properly. And like I said before, if you're not doing some of this energy auditing and what have you, and working with your owners to make sure that what you've designed is really operating properly, you're losing out on, number one, helping the owner, and number two, making more money for your company. It's as simple as that. So here's what a good maintenance strategy does. This is not for you, but it's to tell the owner, here's something that you can bring to an owner. And it's all about the kind of maintenance. Reactive maintenance. What is that? It's fix it if it breaks. That's reactive maintenance. Something happens, you gotta fix it. It's very expensive. Preventive maintenance is the normal kinds of things you should do. Check belts, make sure the bearings are greased on a normal basis, or if they're oil bearings, that they're oiled. Predictive is even better than that. It's setting up a program where the maintenance people look at what should be done. Don't even wait for a belt to start making a weird noise or a bearing to start making a weird noise and then replacing it before it fails. Predict when it's going to happen and do what needs to be done from a maintenance standpoint so it doesn't happen. Look at the difference in cost. Break it when it's fixed. $18 per horsepower per year. Preventive is $13 and predictive is $8. That's a difference of $10 per horsepower per year. So if you've got a couple 1,000 horsepower in a building, a couple of big chillers, a bunch of fans, it might be 1,000 horsepower easily. 1,000 times 10 is $10,000. That's a lot of money. It's being wasted because maintenance isn't being done properly. A lot of places to get information. ASHRAE has a lot. PECI has a lot. I'm sure Abby's organization has a lot. But these are all the kinds of things. And these advanced energy design guides, this is not part of O&M particularly, but we're up to 50% advanced energy design guides now. And that's a lot of good things to look at when you're designing. There's a lot of other places. Lead for existing buildings from USGBC. BOMA has an excellent one. It's over 10 years old now, but it's pretty darn good, and it was written by an ASHRAE member. IFMA Foundation, not IFMA itself, but the foundation, has a great sustainability how-to guide. And of course, Energy Star, you go into their website, and it's a tough website to navigate because there's so doggone much information on it. There's a tremendous amount of information on ASHRAE's website. Most of it costs money. But some of these other ones, it doesn't. So look at some of these other ones. And you can go to our website because we made it an educational website. And somebody said the other day you should stop calling it an educational website and call it a resource-rich website. We have probably 100 websites on there to go to like these. We have a lot of articles and a lot of blogs on exactly what we do and exactly what proper operations and maintenance should be. Just go to it and read them. ICSC is International Conference of Shopping Centers. They have a lot of good information. Here's the real key. We have found there are building operators out there who know, really know how their buildings operate. They know their buildings, they know their systems, and they know what they have to do to make those systems operate better for the building. There are building operators who say, this is my building. It's not like they own it, but they feel it's their building, they're the ones who take care of it, and they want to do a good job. Now, unfortunately, they're in the minority. They're really not the majority of building engineers. We have one of the former here, sitting right at that table. He's a good operator. He knows his building, he knows how to operate it. They don't give him any money to put in a fancy building automation system, and that's one of the other things that I want to mention to you. You know, we at ASHRAE, we want to design the best system possible for the money that we're given to do the job, and we want to put in a good building automation system. But you have to know the level of the people who are going to operate that building automation system. Because if they don't understand it, the day after whoever it is who put it in leaves and gives them the operating information, that next day, they don't know how to operate it because it's too complicated. And what happens with a too complicated building automation system? It becomes a manual system very, very quickly. So you have to be careful not to over-design beyond the comprehension of the people who are going to take care of it. So basically, it comes down to balance. The indoor environmental quality and the energy consumption have to balance. This is not a scale that goes up and down. It's just a straight balance scale. So the building owner hires the designer, that's us, the architect, the engineer, to design what they want. Then it's up to the building operator and the maintenance personnel to take care of it like it should be taken care of. Doesn't always happen. Here's some more references and resources. There's a lot. We have a lot more, like I said, on our website. You can always contact us. This first quote, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children, is something that the native Indians, I mean, that's where it came from. But this is what we have to think about. What are we doing to our planet when we design or we operate? And it's not good. And we use up more natural resources than we should be. And this one from U.S. Green Building Council, they don't even use it anymore. Build green, everyone profits. It's not all money. It's also about the people who are in the building. Whether it's a home, or a commercial office building, or an industrial building, if you build it green, it's a better place for them to be. They're healthier, they're more productive, they feel better, they like coming to work, maybe. But that's what profitability is all about. You know, this whole three-legged stool thing that we all hear, people, planet, profit. If you do good things for people and you do good things for the planet, you don't make a profit, you don't stay in business very long. All three have to be there to keep a three-legged stool steady. So, I'll finish with the reasons why people change. Either they realize it's in their best interest or they're forced to. And these are happening. This whole thing with you have to show us what your BTU per square foot per year is in a building. This is being forced into doing some things that owners and developers and facility managers may not want to do because it costs money, supposedly costs money. In the long run, it really doesn't. Now, I don't think you have this in Canada. At least nobody has been able to tell me you do. But we have a new program in the United States, it's a couple of years old now, called PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy. Very big in Connecticut, very big in California, and in Texas. And a number of states have said they would like to have it, but the counties and the cities have to do it. And it's for deep energy retrofits, the retrofits that take more than 5 years. We have a blog on our website about not doing the low-cost, no-cost things. Why not? Because you want to be able to take those 1 and 2 year payback items or immediate payback items and tie them in with these retrofits that take longer to pay back. So if you take some of the low-cost, no-cost ones and put them with the 5 and 6 year ones, you might get a decent 3 to 4 year payback, and a lot of building owners will do that, but they won't do 5, 6, 8 year paybacks. What the property assessed clean energy process does, sorry about that, I vowed I wouldn't say process. It makes it into a tax assessment. And you can have a tax assessment that goes out 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. On these large jobs, over $250,000, we have to do a level 2 energy audit, and we have to show that it's going to cash flow positive from the beginning, and cash flow positive every year of that 10 or 15 or 20 years. Not hard to do if you do it right. And it's got to happen. So there's a lot of good things going on, and you might talk to your governments about maybe doing some of those things, whether it's the province or whether it's Ottawa. Good luck. But it's going on. So there's a lot of proof that it really does work, and a lot of people are doing it. So basically, I will end with this. If we don't change our direction, we're likely to end up where we're headed. We need to think about this. Change is happening faster and faster and faster. And if you don't change, you're going to be left behind. So with that, any questions? Let's see how we did. Ooh, not too bad. Wouldn't believe I could do this in 35 minutes. It's an hour and a half, remember, for anybody going for learning units. Questions?
Question for you. I like your first slide where you showed the ugly filter. It reminded me once I went on 747 and I walked through the air duct, which is underneath where people sit. And the filters on an airplane are ugly and dirty and gross and dirt. That's why we all get sick when we fly. So just like buildings are often dirty, airlines usually are filthy.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, anybody else?
Just a comment.
Yes, sir.
In Canada, the equivalent to a PACE program is a local improvement charge. It's available in Vancouver, Toronto, Halifax. The city of Ottawa has looked at it. It's very good. It's very good for our business. And if you can encourage people in the city at City Hall to take it on, that would be great. It's not run at a provincial level. It's run because of the downloading of services off the provincial level. It's run at municipal levels. So please encourage. It's great for our business. Please encourage others to do it.
So, see this gentleman after the meeting. Because really, I mean, PACE has really taken off in a number of states, like I said, in the United States. So there's a lot to look at, and if it's similar to that, it's a no-brainer, really. And it'll get you some more work too, because those are deep energy retrofits. Now we're talking about changing out boilers, changing out chillers, going to primary variable flow systems, and on and on and on. And who's going to design those? ASHRAE people. So get with it. Advocacy, you know, it's all about advocacy.